All right, I'm back with chapter 15 from Sideways Stories from Wayside School, written by Louis Sachar, and this is about a girl named Dee Dee. This story contains a problem and a solution. Dee Dee was a mousy looking kid. Unlike most children at Wayside School, she liked recess better than spelling. As soon as the recess bell rang, she would jump up from her seat and run out the door. There were big signs in Wayside School on every floor. No jumping down the stairs. No, Dee Dee never seemed to notice those signs. She jumped down the stairs. Some children took the steps 2 at a time. Dee Dee took them 10 at a time. That was on the way down. The weird thing is she never seemed to be in quite the same rush to go back upstairs. There was another sign at Wayside School. No cutting across the grass. Dee Dee must not have seen that one either. She cut across the grass and ran up to Louis, the yard teacher. I want a green ball, said Dee Dee. The green balls were the best. I'm all out of green balls, said Louis. Okay, then I want a red ball, said Dee Dee. The red balls were almost as good as the green balls. They didn't bounce as high, but sometimes you wanted that. I'm all out of red balls too, said Louis. Do you have anything left? Asked Dee Dee. Dee Dee meant anything that wasn't the yellow ball. There was one yellow ball at Wayside School, and Louis was always trying to get rid of it. It didn't bounce, and it never went the way you kicked it. Anything at all? Asked Dee Dee. Today's your lucky day, said Louis. I have one ball left just for you, the one and only yellow ball. No thanks, said Dee Dee. Aw, come on, take it, said Louis. Why don't you ever have any green or red balls? Asked Dee Dee. I do, said Louis, but the other children asked first. By the time you get here, they're all gone. Well, that's because I have to come all the way from the 30th story. How do you expect me to compete with kids on the first or second floor? Well, that's why I saved you the yellow ball, said Louis. Everybody wanted it, but I saved it just for you. Yeah, I bet you did, said Dee Dee. She took the yellow ball and bounced it on the ground. It stopped dead with a thud. She stepped back, ran up, and kicked it. It went backwards over her head, and she didn't bother chasing it. Instead, she played hopscotch with Jenny and Leslie, and she thought it was disgusting. The next day, Dee Dee asked Mrs. Jules, if she could go to recess early. Why? Asked Mrs. Jules. So I can get a green ball before Louis gives them all away, said Dee Dee. Oh, well, I'm glad you have a good reason, said Mrs. Jules. Yes, you may go, but first, spell Mississippi. Spelling was not Dee Dee's best subject. By the time she finally got it right, she was 5 minutes late for recess. She jumped down the stairs, cut across the grass, and ran up to Louis. There were no green balls. There were no red balls. The yellow ball was still there, though. Dee Dee played jump rope with Joy and Marisa. It was no better than hopscotch the day before. So Dee Dee's problem was to figure out a way to get a green ball, or at least a red ball. You already know this story also contains a solution. Dee Dee figured it out. See if you can too. Remember what you know about Dee Dee, Wayside School, and Mrs. Jules. Hint, the next day, Dee Dee brought a cream cheese and jelly sandwich, some nuts, and shredded cheese in her lunchbox. Here's what happened. Just before recess, Dee Dee smeared the cream cheese and jelly all over her face. Then she stuffed her mouth with nuts and hung the shredded cheese from her nose. When she closed her eyes, she looked just like a dead rat. Todd was in on the plan. Mrs. Jules, he called. There's a dead rat in the classroom. Mrs. Jules was very put out. I want that dead rat outside immediately. Now, when Mrs. Jules said immediately, she meant it. Dee Dee instantly found herself outside on the playground. I want a green ball, she said. Louis pretended he didn't hear her. May I please have a green ball? She asked. Louis gave her a green ball. I don't know how you did it, Dee Dee, but you're first today, he said. When Mrs. Jules found out that Dee Dee and Todd had tricked her, she sent Todd home early on the kindergarten bus. Dee Dee threw the green ball on the ground. It bounced 50 feet straight in the air, and then she caught it. You don't like me, do you? She asked Louis. Sure I do, said Louis. No, you don't, said Dee Dee. Yeah, I like you, said Louis. No, you don't, Dee Dee insisted. Yes, I like you. I really do, said Louis. Are you sure? Yeah, said Louis. Don't you believe me? I guess so, said Dee Dee. Do you like me? Asked Louis. You bet, said Dee Dee. You're my best friend. Well, terrific, said Louis. I always wanted to be best friends with a dead rat. All right, stay tuned for the next one.